The phone buzzed on the passenger seat while Ethan parallel parked outside the little Italian place downtown. He glanced at the screen and felt the familiar twist of disappointment. So sorry, something came up with the kids. Rain check. Another cancellation. Third one this month. At 34, Ethan had grown used to the polite brush-offs. Dating apps were a battlefield of half-promises and ghosting. He sat in the quiet car for a long moment, engine ticking as it cooled, wondering why he still bothered shaving and wearing the good shirt for people who never showed. The restaurant's warm yellow windows looked suddenly ridiculous, like a stage set for a play he wasn't in. He almost drove home. Almost. Instead, he pulled back onto the main road, circled the block once, and found himself guiding the car into the empty corner of the grocery store parking lot 2 streets over, the one with the broken street lamp that nobody ever used after dark. He told himself he just needed a minute to breathe before facing his silent apartment and the leftover lasagna for one. That was when he saw her. She was half hidden beside a dented silver minivan, crouched low, shoulders shaking so hard the motion rocked the vehicle. 2 small children clung to her. One boy around 6 with a mop of blonde curls pressed to her side, one little girl no older than 4 who kept trying to crawl into her mother's lap even though there wasn't room. The woman's face was buried in her hands, dark hair falling forward like a curtain she could hide behind. Ethan's foot eased off the brake before his brain caught up. He rolled the window down. The night air carried the raw sound of her crying. Deep, ragged, the kind that comes after you've already used up every tear you thought you had. If you've ever felt like the universe keeps handing you closed doors, wait until you hear what happened next. If you believe in kindness and second chances, hit that like button right now, leave a heart in the comments, share this with someone who needs to be reminded that good people still exist, and subscribe so you never miss a story like this. He killed the engine and stepped out slowly, the way you approach a wounded animal. The asphalt still held the day's heat. His sneakers made soft sounds that felt too loud. When he was 10 feet away, the boy noticed him first and stiffened, instinctively moving in front of his mother like a tiny bodyguard. That single act cracked something open in Ethan's chest. The woman lifted her head. Her eyes were red-rimmed, mascara streaked in delicate black rivers down cheeks that had probably been smiling in some selfie months ago when life still made sense. She tried to wipe her face with the sleeve of a pale blue blouse that had once been crisp and professional. Now it was wrinkled and dotted with what looked like applesauce. "I'm sorry," she managed, voice shredded. "We'll move. I needed somewhere the kids wouldn't see me fall apart in the apartment." She attempted a laugh. It came out broken. Ethan raised both hands, palms open. "You're not in my spot. I don't even shop here." He nodded toward the dark store. "Place has been closed 20 minutes. He didn't know why he said that. Maybe to let her know he wasn't security, wasn't anyone official, just another human being who happened to stumble across her lowest moment. The little girl peeked out from behind her mother's knee. She held a stuffed giraffe missing one eye. "Mommy's sad because daddy went away," she announced in that unfiltered way only preschoolers have. The woman, Ethan still didn't know her name, closed her eyes as if the words were knives. "Lily, honey." Ethan felt the air leave his lungs. He knew that particular grief. He'd seen it in his sister's face the year their parents died within 6 months of each other. He'd worn it himself for longer than he cared to admit. Without thinking, he crouched so he was eye level with the children. "Hi, Lily. I'm Ethan. That's a very brave giraffe you've got there." The girl considered him solemnly, then held the toy out for inspection. The boy watched him with wary blue eyes that were far too old for his face. The woman tried to stand, swaying a little. "We should go. I'm sorry. This is not your problem." Ethan rose slowly. "I was stood up tonight," he heard himself say. The words surprised even him. "Blind date. She cancelled last minute. I put on a clean shirt and everything." He gave a sheepish half shrug. "I was sitting in my car feeling sorry for myself when I saw you." So maybe the universe rerouted me. A flicker of something. Recognition. Maybe. Crossed her face. She looked at him as if seeing him for the first time. Up close, he noticed the faint bruise of exhaustion beneath her eyes, the way her lower lip trembled before she caught it between her teeth. She was beautiful in the way storms are beautiful, something wild and electric barely contained. I'm Sarah, she said finally. This is Noah and Lily. She rested a shaking hand on each small head. Their dad. Deployment was supposed to be 9 months. 2 weeks ago they moved it to 18. And today the daycare called raised rates again and my car wouldn't start and her voice cracked completely. She pressed her fingers to her mouth as fresh tears welled. Ethan glanced at the minivan. The hood was still warm. He could smell the faint metallic tang of an aging battery. Want me to take a look? He didn't wait for permission, just popped the hood and peered inside with the flashlight on his phone. 20 minutes, a set of jumper cables from his trunk, and one slightly melted chocolate bar shared with 2 sticky children later, the engine coughed reluctantly to life. Sarah stood beside him, arms wrapped around herself, watching like she couldn't believe help had simply appeared. You didn't have to do that, she whispered. I know. Noah tugged Ethan's sleeve. Are you a soldier too? No, buddy. I fix computers for a hospital. Boring grown-up stuff. Noah considered this. Mommy says soldiers are heroes. But you helped us. So maybe you're a hero too. Ethan felt his throat close. Sarah's eyes met his over the children's heads, and for the first time that night, the faintest smile touched her lips. Small, tired, but real. He should have said goodnight then. Should have climbed back into his car and driven home to his lasagna and Netflix queue. Instead he heard himself ask, have you guys eaten? Sarah shook her head. I was going to make macaroni, but then the car. She trailed off, embarrassed. There's a 24-hour diner 2 miles down. Best grilled cheese on the planet. My treat. No strings. He lifted both hands again. I promise I'm not a creep. You can Google me. Ethan Caldwell, Street. Mary's IT department. I have a golden retriever named Pickles and I cry at the end of Field of Dreams. Total danger to society. That earned a watery laugh. Sarah looked at her children. Noah yawning now, Lily's head heavy on her shoulder, and something shifted in her expression, like a door she'd kept bolted was easing open a crack. The diner smelled of coffee and bacon no matter the hour. They took the big corner booth. Noah and Lily colored on the kids' menus while Ethan learned, in careful fragments between bites of pancakes and hash browns, that Sarah had been a high school art teacher before the kids came, that her husband was stationed in Kuwait, that the deployment extension had shattered whatever fragile plan she'd pieced together. Rent was late. Her mom lived 3 states away and wasn't well. She'd been too proud to ask the military spouse groups for help yet again. Tonight had simply been the night the last piece fell. Ethan listened more than he spoke. He told her about growing up in a small town where his dad fixed tractors and his mom taught Sunday school, about losing them both too young, about the way loneliness could creep in so quietly you didn't notice until it was sitting across the table wearing your own face. When the waitress brought the check, Sarah reached for it automatically. Ethan slid it out of reach without making a thing of it. Outside, the sky had turned that deep indigo just before true dawn. Sarah buckled the kids into their car seats, Lily already asleep, Noah fighting it with every blink. She closed the door softly and turned to Ethan, suddenly shy. Thank you, she said. I don't know how to say it big enough. You don't have to. He hesitated, then pulled out his phone. But if it's okay, could I check on you tomorrow? Make sure the van starts. Totally fine if that's weird. I can just. Yes, she cut in, voice soft but sure. I'd like that. He entered her number with fingers that didn't quite feel like his own. The weeks that followed moved gently, the way snow falls when you're not watching. Ethan showed up the next morning with coffee and a new battery he'd bought at cost through a friend at the auto parts store. Sarah tried to pay him. He refused. Instead, she paid him in crayons and construction paper. Noah's careful drawing of a superhero with a laptop cape and a golden retriever sidekick. Ethan hung it above his desk at work and caught himself smiling at it a dozen times a day. He started coming by after work with takeout or ingredients so Sarah didn't have to cook after 12-hour shifts waitressing while she finished her teaching certification online. The kids greeted him like a returning comet, Lily with sticky hugs, Noah with endless questions about whether computers could dream. Some nights Ethan read them bedtime stories in terrible pirate voices while Sarah finished coursework at the kitchen table. Some nights he and Sarah sat on the tiny balcony sharing a single beer and the kind of silences that feel like understanding. Sarah's husband, Michael, FaceTimed when signal allowed. The first time Ethan was there, he made himself scarce in the kitchen, but Michael caught a glimpse and later sent Sarah a message. He seems like a good one, Sar. I'm glad you're not alone. The generosity of it undid her. She cried in the shower so the kids wouldn't hear. Fall arrived with cool mornings and leaves the color of fire. One Saturday Ethan took them all to the pumpkin patch. Lily rode on his shoulders squealing at every scarecrow. Noah insisted on carrying the biggest pumpkin he could lift and nearly toppled twice. Sarah watched them and felt something loosen inside her chest, like ice breaking up on a river in spring. The night before Michael was due home on 2 weeks' leave, Sarah found Ethan on the balcony again, staring at the stars like they owed him answers. She brought out 2 mugs of cocoa and sat beside him. He lands tomorrow, she said quietly. I know. Ethan's voice was steady, but his fingers tightened around the mug. Sarah studied his profile, the strong line of his jaw, the way the porch light caught the gold in his hair. 6 months ago she'd been crying in a parking lot convinced her story had ended in that minivan. Now here was this man who had quietly, steadfastly become part of their landscape. I don't know how to thank you, she began. You already did, he said. Every time you let me in the door. Every time Noah called me, Ethan, instead of, Mom's friend. Every time Lily fell asleep on my chest during movie night. You gave me a family to borrow when I didn't have one. That's the best thank you there is. She reached for his hand. He let her take it. Michael knows about you, she said. He wants to meet you. Says any man who can get Lily to eat peas deserves a medal. She laughed through the lump in her throat. We talked about it. When he's home for good next year, we want you in our lives. Not instead of. In addition to. You're already Noah's hero and Lily's human jungle gym and. Her voice cracked. And mine. Ethan turned to her then, eyes shining. I never meant to fall in love with a married woman, he said, rough and honest. But I fell in love with all 3 of you. And I can wait. I can be whatever you need. Friend, Uncle Ethan, the guy who fixes the Wi-Fi. As long as I don't have to walk away. Sarah leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. You're not going anywhere, she whispered. If this story reached into your chest and squeezed your heart the way it did mine while telling it, please, do me a favor. Like this video. Share it. Leave a comment and tell me the moment that hit you hardest. Let's flood the comments with proof that love still shows up exactly when we need it, even in grocery store parking lots at midnight. And if you're still here, still feeling that lump in your throat, scroll down right now and type, second chances are real. I want to see how many of us believe it. Because they are. Michael came home. There were tears at the airport, Lily sprinting into her daddy's arms, Noah trying so hard to be brave until he wasn't. Ethan stood back, hands in his pockets, until Michael, tall, sun-browned, eyes older than his years, walked straight over and pulled him into a hug that left no room for awkwardness. Later, around a table crowded with pizza and laughter, Michael raised his beer. To the man who kept my family whole while I couldn't. Welcome to the chaos, brother. Ethan looked across the table at Sarah, at the light back in her eyes, at Lily asleep against his arm, at Noah sneaking him an extra slice, and felt something settle into place with the quiet click of a key turning in the lock of a door he hadn't known was waiting for him. Sometimes the universe cancels your plans to make room for the ones that matter. And sometimes all it takes is one person willing to stop the car.